Hello everyone, welcome to the deep dive. I'm joined by Josh Williams as ever to discuss whether Liverpool need to sign a new defensive midfielder. It has been at the top of everybody's wish list, Josh. But no one's really looked at it, I think, and gone, do we actually need one? Because the thought process is, we needed one last season. We got Endo in. He was a stopgap. Therefore, we need a defensive midfielder. But with a change of manager, I think we should look at the two different systems, first of all, the 4-3-3 that Klopp played, and probably the 4-2-3-1 that we're likely to see under Slot. And then look at maybe some of the top midfielders in the world and just see whether Liverpool actually needs one, because, as I say, it just feels like, at the moment, for me anyway, and it might be right, it might be proved right, everyone just thinks we need a DM, but it's not necessarily what's up for grabs.
No, I agree. I think if you look at Liverpool's squad, particularly the first 11, and you think, right, where can we be stronger here? I think the obvious answer probably is a new six, a shiny new six who's boss. But there is far more context around that. The fact that we've just bought Endo a year ago, he might have been a stopgap, but I don't think he's a stopgap for a year. The fact that the market isn't particularly strong, you know, Bayern Munich, 1 of 6, they're chatting like 50 million for Palhinha, who's like 28. So if you can't upgrade, just wait. But people are impatient, so people want us to move now. But I don't know, there's two ways of looking at that, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's talk about the 4-3-3 then, first of all. We've got the board in front of us. Primarily in a 4-3-3 formation, you know, in terms of on the ball, he's the link between the defence, the midfield and the attack.
Yeah.
And we'll quite often tell you, if I think of Fabinho, which way we're going to play. Are we going to move the ball down the left-hand side? Are we going to move it down the right? The ball's fed into him and he decides. Or you can go around the outside using someone like a Trent and stuff. Out of possession, it can become more difficult for a lone six, can't it?
Yeah, well, I think it's harder to be a lone six compared to playing in a double pivot, because you just have to do more of everything yourself. But at the same time, there's different ways of doing it. Like, say, for example, when Guardiola gets to City, he brings in De Bruyne, already has David Silva. They both go and do that and leave Fernandinho on his own. Fernandinho was boss.
Yeah, left him on his own for years.
Yeah, very mobile as well, so he could do it. He could cover the ground, and the team was just very well coached. Fabinho had the opposite. He had 2 8s who basically sat next to him and helped them out and protected them. So, still 4-3-3, but different ways of doing it. And if you look at Liverpool's squad now, I think we've got more of them who want to go. I don't think we have any protectors. So, you basically want a 6 who can probably cover a fair bit of ground.
Kante.
Kind of Kante. I think the problem with Kante was, Kante just, if the ball's over here, he just goes, mate.
But what I mean by that is he can get to that sideline, he can get to that sideline, and he can get back to the middle.
Yeah, I think of Rice. Rice comes to mind. I know some people don't think he's strictly a 6, but Rice is really mobile for that player. When Henderson was that player for us, wasn't amazing, but he could cover ground. Fernandinho could cover ground. I don't know about Rodri.
No, Rodri feels positioning, it feels system, it feels everything else.
I agree.
What Rodri is brilliant at is one-on-one duels, because he's so big, he's so strong, he'll just knock you off the ball quite easily. Completely different 6 to Fernandinho, and even a better version of Fernandinho, because his passing ability is so much more.
Yeah, but that requirement of, if you've got expressive number 8s, you need your 6 to be, you know, a runner, an athlete. That's what makes it tricky compared to 4-2-3-1, which we think Slot might use, which changes things a bit. Obviously, it goes like that then, and then your runner, your athlete, kind of has to be that guy, really. I'm generalising here, but still. And as a 2, rather than like covering so much ground, you're just kind of doing that on like what's the word? Like a clock.
Pendulum, or I don't know.
Pendulum, yeah, that's the word I'm after. Pendulum, yeah. So it's kind of like lateral movements, side to side as a duo. This fella's responsible for that. That fella's responsible for that, rather than one lad doing it all himself. And I think looking at the market, and probably to be fair, looking at Liverpool's squad as well, you might benefit more from doing that.
And I think we touched on it last week though, what was interesting is, you know, when you go to the 4-3-3 formation and the high press and the way the Klopp used to play it, obviously these lads would jump forwards. These lads would quite often jump forwards as well, which means that the six, obviously depending on which side you're playing, to be fair, they're not going up forwards at the same time. This lad might jump forwards to help Salah out, to help the midfielder out. Right, that leaves a whole big open space there. But in slots, 4-2-3-1 formation, where am I going here? Pushing back there. Right, we discussed this last week. This guy goes there and these drop in. There's just not as much room to cover because you've got your support here and here. And this lad's not bombing forwards as well.
Yeah.
So, for me, they don't have to be quite as mobile and cover as much ground. But then I sort of started thinking to myself, like, what about in the build-up phase? You need them in the build-up phase.
Yeah, I think Liverpool...
They have to be ball players.
Yeah, this is some of the doubts people have had over Palhinha for Bayern. Like, as much as Bayern need this DM destroyer, whatever, if you're playing for Bayern Munich, mate, you virtually guaranteed to dominate most opponents. So you're going to see most of the ball. So you can't really afford a negative in possession. This is why I was baffled when Man United went and bought Wan-Bissaka. Because, like, most weeks, Man United are going to face a team that are willing to settle for a point. And if you've got Wan-Bissaka on the ball anywhere, you feel safe. It's fine, I'm having the ball. So any DM we get, he has to be good, obviously, on the defensive end and all that. But he has to be able to play. I've got anybody, you know. That was one of the criticisms that I've seen levelled at Endo. Initially, people were praising Endo, weren't they? Because he was just receiving the ball and laying it off with his first touch. But I think the problem was, as the season grew on, Endo tried to do a bit more of, like, elaborate stuff, switching it and that. What happened?
My laptop's gone off and that's got half the show on it.
that didn't last as many minutes that you thought.
That did not last very long at all.
Well,
I've texted Dan for a charger. Here he is. We're going to have to just sort this out. I'm so sorry. Mate, I need a better charger than that. It needs to be able to power a laptop. Can you get us one? Can you get me laptop bag? Is that okay?
Well, we've got it.
We are going to sort this.
We've got my laptop here, mate.
Apologies. It's not that though, it's the entire second half of the show. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look at, when my computer comes back on, the top 10 midfielders, defensive midfielders. Okay. So I think number 10 was Yves Bissouma, right? Yeah. Tottenham Hotspur, defensive midfielder, and a typically defensive midfielder as well. Like, this is a guy who goes and wins the football. And when you look at his stats on FB Ref, which I can't show you right now, he is very much a dog on a leash. Go and get the football and move it on. The
only thing with the dog on a leash thing, I don't like a dog on a leash if he's on his own, though.
No.
You need someone holding the leash. So he needs to play with a partner. That's why I've never liked the idea, this myth that Kante is that. Kante is not that, and he never was that at his peak. Kante was that. Playing next to Matic or playing next to Drinkwater, they held the leash. So
and he gave the ball to them, and they
yeah exactly. And Kante could play, by the way, you know, fair play to him. But if we're signing someone like that who's a dog who's going to chase sound, but put him next to McAllister or put him next to Trent, don't put him on his own there. The only manager to put him on his own there, Kante, Frank Lampard. Just saying.
The shittest manager in the world.
Well.
So yeah, Yves Bissouma. Yeah, he's in the top 10, mate.
Yeah, he's
absolutely ridiculous. I've got the stats up on the screen now. What we've done, first of all, is I've said to you, what stats do you think a DM should have? So we're looking at tackles, we're looking at interceptions, tackling interceptions.
It's tricky. It is tricky, though.
Of course. Pass completion, progressive passes. They're the basics.
Basics, yeah.
The simplistic, this is what they should be at. Yves Bissouma ticks all of those boxes pretty much, to be fair to him. Like, blocks isn't that high. Ball recoveries, you'd probably want it to be a little bit higher. The next one on the list, right, was Martin Zubimendi. Okay,
yeah. I've heard good things about him.
He's supposed to be a really good player,
Yeah.
but by comparison on those metrics, nowhere near what we're looking for.
Which is why we need to be careful, innit? It's kind of sums it up. It's so much easier to assess forwards using public data compared to players who are more... the more you go towards being a defensive-minded player, the harder it is to gauge how good you are using standard data. That's why we could do with getting like a Will Spearman in or something, but it's not as easy as that, is it?
No. Hakan Kalhanoglu.
It's not a DM.
He's not a DM.
No, absolutely not.
Well, according to 442, he is the 8th best DM.
442
magazine, yeah.
I'd like to know how they've done that.
Okay, so ranked. This was 6 days ago. Here you go. Just so you know. 10, Yves Bissouma. 9, Martin Zubimendi. 8, Hakan Kalhanoglu. Okay.
I mean, I disagree with the guys at 442.
Let's have a look. Vitinha, Paris Saint-Germain in Portugal.
Okay.
João Palhinha, Fulham. Aurelien Tchouameni, who could be a centre-back or a DM, of course. Eduardo Camavinga. Oh, hang on. Actually, he's the centre-back or defensive midfielder, isn't he?
No.
Is it Tchouameni that does it?
Both of them have done bits of it, I think, yeah.
Bruno Guimaraes, Declan Rice, and number 1, Rodri.
What's the actual headline? Is it defensive midfielders? No, there's no way.
It is. Just for the record, I've not made another mistake on this show. Their headline, please show it, Joe, so everybody knows that I haven't... You what?
It's not what's on my screen.
It's not on your screen, great. Just another thing to add to it. It says ranked the 10 best defensive midfielders in the world, does it not?
Is there a comment section?
I don't know.
If there was, people would be taking issue with that, I guarantee it. Like,
the top...
used to play as a 10.
The top 2 are right, though, right? Declan Rice and Rodri.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Right, have you got Alexis McAllister on your screen now, Joe, before I start messing around with this?
Scroll up. Yes.
Right, Alexis McAllister. Okay, based on those metrics that we looked at before, pretty fucking shit hot. Compared to, let's find Rodri. Alexis McAllister does better in the defensive numbers. Rodri does better in the attacking numbers.
Which would surprise many people, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's a stylistic thing. It's got to be. I mean, to be fair, Alexis McAllister wins the ball a lot. You know, like you'd be surprised how much he wins the ball. But City just never really have to do too much of that anyway. So there's got to be a stylistic thing in there because Rodri, in my head, is more of a defensive presence than McAllister. I think McAllister's problem sometimes with the DM stuff is he's inclined to try stuff. He's just creative, and if he tries something, sees a hole, and it doesn't go through it, and you get done, Rodri's just not taking them risks. Most DMs wouldn't take them risks, so that's why you maybe want McAllister higher up, or with the dog next to him on the leash, to go and sweep up his mess if he creates one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look at then, if I take Endo as the next person, right, and I'll check Endo's stats compared to McAllister. Like Endo's stats are nowhere near as good as Alexis McAllister's.
No, but I'm not that surprised
for the basics of tackles, blocks, interceptions, ball recoveries.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I have maintained all season, to be fair, that I think Liverpool's best team was Mach, Jones, Szoboszlai as the 3. I know Endo gave us maybe a bit more balance and stuff like that, but even despite being a defensive-minded player, he didn't do as much defensive stuff as Mach. Mach was just a bit of a all-rounder, like a kind of what we thought we were getting when we got Naby. You know, when you just sign this midfielder who can do bits of everything. McAllister's like that, so, but because he has got that creative spark, I'm just not sure you want him as your deepest midfielder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand it, like, but I think it comes back to the first conversation that we had, isn't it? Is if you've got 2 similarly minded midfielders, not maybe a dog on the leash and a creative fella, can you cover the job of the one dog on the leash? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it comes down to for me is we've got 13 midfielders. Like, it seems mental that we'd go and buy a specialist 6 when we don't, well, right now we don't know what formation we're playing, but we've also got Endo, we've got McAllister, we've got Stefan Bajcetic. You know, you can add a couple of the young lads in there.
Bajcetic is an important point though as well. Like, extremely good player, mate, and he's just had a year out. Could become something really good. I've always envisaged him as more of a 6 personally than an 8. Some people disagree with that, but you know, if you like that list of DMs you've just listed before, you know, who are you getting from that? You're not getting Rodzi. You're not getting Rodzi. You're not getting Rice. You're not getting Tchouameni. Other than that,
would you want Paulinho?
I don't think so. You know, I think he's very, very good at what he does, but
he's a one-trick pony.
That plus he's 28. You know, so it'd be completely different if he was like 23, but he's not. And
I mean, the other option there is Bruno.
He's nearly 29. Bruno is a bit like McAllister though, in the sense that he's still gonna try stuff and that. I think he's more of a DM than McAllister is. But are we talking lone 6 here? Yeah, by the way.
Are we no, I think we took double pivot.
I can see Bruno in a double pivot. Yeah, I can see Bruno and McAllister in a double pivot. I think that would work quite nicely. But I think McAllister and Trent in a double pivot, I would be a bit wary of.
There's too much attacking threat here.
Yeah, or McAllister. Yeah, or McAllister and Szoboszlai or someone like that. I don't know.
McAllister and Endo as a double pivot?
I would worry about legs.
See,
Even if you're playing as a 2, I'd still worry about legs.
I think Bajcetic is in Liverpool's starting midfield if he plays at the level he did 2 years ago.
So, Mach and Bajcetic?
That would be what I would do if you're not signing someone, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see it. Again, do you have any concerns about athleticism now?
Not with Bajcetic and not with McAllister, really. I think height and physicality maybe more than athleticism. I think that's a fair comment. What I would say is McAllister has to stop all the other stuff, like the risky passes. That's for your number 10. And at that point, you have to know that.
The only problem with that is I just think it's in his nature. It's like he is going to try stuff. That's just what he is as a player. To get that out of him. I mean, to an extent, Klopp got it out of Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum was that, weren't he? Arriving late. And he turned him into this absolute safety net controller thing. But Wijnaldum was just like that. McAllister with that, it'd be a bit of a shame almost, wouldn't it? To say to him, like, stop breaking lines. Or stop trying to break lines.
Well, it depends. If you've got 4 players up ahead of you, and you maybe Trent's more of a creative spark, who knows, maybe McAllister can go forward if you've got a Bajcetic to join the attack, I don't know. I think my big thing here is, I'm just not 100% certain that Liverpool should be entering the market for anything less than a top 10 defensive midfielder.
No, I agree.
And there's no one in that top 10 that I think really, apart from Bruno, would probably be the one in that list of players that I'd be interested in. The others are unattainable.
Yeah.
And can you find a way to make it work? But then that's what the manager's job is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not getting a top 10 defensive midfielder, why are you doing it?
But if you can't...
Unless you find someone who becomes one.
Yeah. If you can't get one, do that. Do a midfield 2 with a 10 ahead. Because that switches the dynamic. It's been like that for the past couple of years because this fella's been boss, Fabinho. If there isn't another Fabinho on the market, and there isn't, reverse it then. And have 2 lads sharing the duties there. And a 10. That's probably the solution, I think. Because, you know, if the alternative is going and overspending on a player who's not going to have much of an impact on your points.
Yeah.
That Fabinho from Monaco is not out there at the minute. You got to be clever.
Interesting stuff. What a shit show of a show. I'm so sorry for all the problems there. That was absolutely pathetic. Josh Williams was not pathetic. It was just me.
I enjoyed it, mate.
I bet you did, just laughing your head off at me. Just in the break, he's like, I'm just so glad it wasn't me. It was never going to be you. It's always me, mate. Thank you as ever for joining me. Sorry for the complete unprofessionalism, and we'll see you next time. Ta.